and a slight grimace, with tattoos that smile when you look at them. But don't look too close because they'll curse you, and so will the woman in matching black denim who walks in behind him. His woman, his babe of the road. They both take a seat. His motorcycle mistress is decked in black eyeliner, now slurping coffee, looking around all paranoid and translucent. They mutter brief, cigarette-choked syllables that come off a lot like wavering sarcasm as it floats between the smells and sounds of the cook in the back, clanking pans and clanging silverware to a crescendo of skillet-sizzling rhythms. There's eggs frying, coffee brewing. The scent begins to swim through the nostrils of a crying baby. It could belong to any of them. It's unattended. Could be me, or could be her making it cry. I catch the gaze of Yoke's babe of the road staring back at me with wanton eyes, all gloriously sick from the wind-whipped ride and fast-fried food. The baby is still crying. There's nothing we can do, only speak softer and gentler, and hope that the sounds of wolfing pancakes and hash somehow coax it back to sleep. But then again, what could be more endearing than that? I wonder how it will fare as the years pass. A baby raised on these torn red cushions would be destined to melancholy. How could it not? A life spent staring out at a window at a never-ending barrage of gray, rain-soaked dawns. I ask myself, would it grow up suicidal like Kurt Cobain? Pause for dramatic effect. Suddenly the room erupts with an unexpected applause. I dreamily lift my eyes from the page and the naked girl on the second-story balcony is back again. I stare out into the clapping crowd. I am beginning to accept my role as preacher of the pulpit. It's not a glorified role, but a role nonetheless. More, more, they yell and scream and jeer, throwing cheese cubes in the air, clinking wine glasses together in a fit of frightful excitement. Tony is making the go-on motion with his fingers, spinning in 180-degree circles. More, more, encore, the crowd yells. I resume my stasis, and with a trance-like determination, mainly because of the drugs, I continue to read with haphazard enthusiasm. Have you heard? The kids are running wild in the streets, dressed in hobo rags, jackets with sloppy cross-stitching and patches that rep dead rock stars and bands no one's ever heard of, all decked out in pseudo-military threads, hand-sewn with enough safety pins and hair grease to scare the living daylights out of any onlooker. To that matches their equally disdainful looks for society, but grateful. After all, they are just a bunch of well-trained thank-youers, if you don't mind me saying, practiced in the art of giving people what they want, well-versed in that skillful street style that matches the dreams of America's rebellious youth that you might see on TV. They fit the looks of the screen, that's for sure. Only no one told them that that was a jaded dream. The dream was a myth, and the myth was a lie. It was society's sales pitch, and there are no refunds on this ride. Fuck it. Damn it all to hell. They're running wild from Montana to Spokane, all the way down through the Oregon mountains. Like a river, these ruffians beat their drums and pound their chests like wild apes for escape. The restless spirit of America's youth, born with a stubborn refusal to grow up. Oh, mighty Willamette, holy Mount Shasta, hawk that never cries, these newly developed nicknames, Indigo, Patches, Snowflake, Pancake, Digger, Muffin, Jazz, Sunshine, Blue, Sierra, Roach, Duck the Dog, Deja Vu, Sunny, Pop-Tart, Raccoon, Bean, Ogre, Mars, Baby Bear, George, Nitwit, Maya, Rascal Street Kids, Dirty Kids, Dead Kids, reclaimed by each other, united by the ones America had abandoned and forgot about. God bless the late-night zombies prowling and lurking in front of designer shop windows, preying on the hungry, insatiable beast of consumerism, tearing open white boxes of leftover food, the unwanted excess from overfed tourism, boxes from fancy restaurants staring out with hungry eyes. Help me, they plead, the same starving artists that wolf down fast food by the truckloads. O Lord, have mercy. The last of the star children run and run. They circle the blue skies as vultures do all the way down the long roads from Seattle to San Diego, and they roam and roam. They pass along hugs and kisses and long conversations that stay far past the expiration date of civilized chit-chat, far longer than the attention span will allow. But they say fuck it, because when it's all said and done, what else is there to do? What could be more important than getting to know your fellow man? I agree with them, so I nod my head when they talk of wild nights and acid trips and pot farms and corporate greed and the pollution of our food system and the destruction of the earth and the monopolies and conspiracies. And before long, I'm not even listening to their words. All I see is the freedom to feel as I like, for better or worse. The pure goodness sprouts at the top of my skull, the long-awaited release of tension built up after years of institutions and cookie-cutter conversations that have long since become memories, the sounds that turn to songs. And just like that, beauty rears its ugly head, and it's like watching a child being born, that beautiful bohemian baby, echoing from street corner to street corner, a chorus of children all grown up, wafting tobacco like incense, fanning out their taboo prayers of freedom and whiskey and the smell of no showers and burning campfires. Hallelujah. There's a congregation now, and there's more and more of them, their dark army green fatigues, hauling giant packs slung across their backs like turtle shells. Home. Where to find such a thing anyway? Can you buy home at the liquor store? How about the local boutique? Is it at the mall? Online? Is it a button you press when you get lonely? Is it on YouTube? Do you need batteries? I watch street performers carry jet black cases of what I imagine are protecting stringed instruments within, the last hopeful defense against total apathy and anarchy. If you look close enough, you can see the day's take, a bunch of crumpled dollar bills sticking out carelessly, because every good musician knows you play till it's work and work till it's play. I once saw a street tuba. I saw a banjo-playing didgeridoo man, Marcus Fire, Thor, Arrow, Falcor, Phoenix, Artemis, Raven, calling on all imaginations, too many to name, each graffitied, tagged forlornly across boxcars and stop signs where no one pays any mind, yet all seem to be intertwined in some spectacle, some future harmony. Cheers! Here's to another dirty kid with a guitar and dreadlocks forming their own style like separate branches of the same tree, growing from the roots of their scalp. And mine too, let us not forget. I have been sucked into this vortex of energy, my hair a dirty mangled mess of half-formed dreadlocks. Ode to this spiritual vortex, whooshing and waving, casting its lot to the wind, with one finger for a miracle, 2 for peace, 3 if you're okay, 4 to show brother, 5 if you're hungry or if you've had too much or you just want to get low or high, and what's more, 6 means the law is near. These same kids are all I see now. My only peace comes at the pricey expense of charity, watching them with a look that says, hey, you're here too. You were me, and now I'm you. Hellos only cost $1. I'm still here. The booze has worn off, the cigarettes have been smoked, the money is gone. Everyone has gone home, but I'm still here. Thank you. I stepped down from the podium. More applause, followed by cheers and whistles. Chapter 5. Tempus Fugit. I promised. That was my first mistake. I was told, beyond a doubt, through the airwaves, via my God-given gift, not to burn out on the boardwalk. I have this power, you see, to expend all my energy in one massive, triumphant hour, leaving my mind, body, and soul totally exhausted. A feat I do in the name of science and entertaining my friends. But this message was explicit in its orders. Under no circumstances, no matter what, was I allowed to burn out. Whatever you do, don't burn out on the boardwalk. It was more of a warning, I guess. A matter of social custom, a matter of respect within the subculture that made laws to live by. It came from very high up. It was more of a plea, really, a deep heaving gasp, resonating from the mighty great Pacific spirit which guides all intuition here. It's the waves that wash out the sounds of the guitar twangs, telling us to stop before we pluck ourselves silly. It was an unfamiliar feeling, and I was treading unknown territory. It's getting dark, too dark to see. Last night, the stars exploded. They danced and talked to each other, communicating signals over vast distances previously thought impossible. No words can describe how breathtakingly beautiful it is to watch my friend sing love songs to his girlfriend for hours on end, performing for the multitude of the passerbys. I sat listening and painting. Even the sun seemed suspended in eternal setting, as my friend sang Knocking on Heaven's Door for the half-dozenth time. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. I watched as the marble blue sky turned orange to pink to red to indigo, and at dusk finally into a finely washed, deep purple haze. All the while our circle of friends growing larger and more rambunctious with each passing second. The music rang true and deep, carrying us to places hauntingly familiar. "Why'd the chicken cross the road?" Crystal asks, staring at me. Not waiting for an answer, she replies, "To get to the other side, man." I stood watching her, peering through a thin veil into paradise. Where else on earth could love possibly blossom but here? Where else but heaven could this lovely blue marble in space be spinning? It was ecstasy, and my heart was leaping for joy, as if all the troubles weighing upon my soul were suddenly lifted. Feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door. It's a green ocean. The surface swell. The air is crisp and clean. I scored donuts and chocolate milk courtesy of a paper bag litterer to ease the bowels. I've learned 3 things in LA so far. Number 1, too much information is never a bad thing. Number 2, never overstay your welcome, which is less of a rule and more of a lesson. And lastly, but not least, number 3, pay respect to the ones who have been here the longest, for they're the ones who hold the keys to the City of Angels. Like the long-bearded, tan-hipped dad sporting rainbow rags and cut-off jeans who tells me about fame and fortune, who tells me about the time he had it all and lost it. He begins to warn me of some unforeseen danger lurking in the shadows of an all-too-conspicuous dream. They use you up, then they throw you away like toilet paper. Nothing here is sacred. Till you've got nothing, then everything is. It is a tiny slice of wisdom, burned and etched into this coastal kingdom by the sea. The Burning Man is chasing down dime bags so he can stay up all night with a portable torch to do his wood burnings. Intricate designs of 70s rock legends, Bob Marley, quotes by Jim Morrison, Abbey Road cutouts. By day he uses a magnifying glass and the focused energy of the sun. At night it's a whole different animal. The beasts howl on the church steps. I move one of the blinds aside to witness the strange sight of an elderly homeless man going crazy. He's been up for 7 days straight. Psychosis sets in at about day 3. Don't worry though, he's harmless. There's also Nathan, supposedly the retired piano technician for Elton John, who plays all day on his beat-up old grand piano for the hungry tourists. He sleeps under an umbrella, and don't you dare touch his piano, his stubby, worn-out fingers dancing frantically across the keys with the benevolent swinging rhythm of sun-drenched ecstasy, pouring out some hidden message of rock star mythology, exposing chords and keys never before imagined in plain daylight, his leathery sunburnt skin another godly testament to a man who sacrificed everything for his craft. He's making good money, though. Then the young handsome trust fund baby just a few spots away singing, "Hey, sister, I know the water's sweet, but blood is thicker." He's trying to score phone numbers from yuppie daughters who see their radio crushes personified in a clean-cut version standing before their eyes, belting tear-jerking lyrics about Hollywood heartbreak. It's sold and packaged neatly for a nightly skirt dropping. Who else? The painter? The Rasta woodcarver? The graffiti artist who paints and paints with a terrifying paroxysm, One may easily mistake his work for that of a mentally deranged lunatic, until it's done and the work of genius is thus revealed in the semi-spiritual interpretation of famous portraits, that being Jimi Hendrix today, perhaps tomorrow Johnny Cash or Barack Obama. Cobain's portrait is there too, a whole family of street artists taking shade under tents and umbrellas as the never-ending procession of roller skaters, skateboarders, scooterers, hula hoopers, and lollipop shoppers pass by in a slow hypnotic walk to nowhere. The longer I stay, the more familiar the faces become. Call them what you wish. Regulars, frequenters, locals. Their energy grows like plants in my memory. I watch as the roots poke up from the surface. I will confess the thought of staying here forever has crossed my mind more than once. It has everything I could ever want. It would be easy living day to day with the beach so close. I could practice my yoga freely. I'd eat breakfast in the morning with the bums, listen to the waves, watch surfers, write, read, relax, take in the sun. Hell, I'd kick off my shoes and socks, walk around barefoot, stretch when and where I wanted. Maybe do some painting every now and then, who knows? I would get a nice tan so I'd look Californian. Which reminds me, I have to fix my skateboard. I'll have to head down to Tony Lynn's later, kick it by her van for a while so I can use her tools to fix my board. I know she has some spare parts. Then maybe I'll grab lunch with a friend, cook it up next to the sequels. Who knows? Maybe I'll even get around to doing some graffiti today. I know I'll definitely play guitar on the boardwalk. Smoke some grass, roll a few cigarettes, meet some more strangers, powwow for a bit. Maybe I'll grab a snack, walk around, catch a jam session or two, go for a run if I'm really feeling motivated. Then for dinner, it's take what you can get and don't complain. Every day I have to play music with my friends. It's the only chance I get to play until my heart's content. It's only one of two activities that are absolutely essential for my happiness and sanity. The other activity being taking time to watch the sunset. You'll catch me hollering and waving goodbye, as if it's the last time I'll ever see the darn thing. I don't need much to truly feel rich. A few friends and a few good jokes goes a long way. It's a sort of rush. A slow, mellow rush, if that makes sense. Like the feeling of a giant wave swelling behind you, catching you off guard, and all you can do is sort of brace yourself before you get pummeled. I wish I could stay forever, but you know me. I'm just passing through. My friend and driver of our Chevrolet, Bojangles, captain of our blue Chevy Chariot, is sick. Not deathly sick. Nothing worse than a swollen lymphoid, probably from smoking too many cigarettes. But that's beside the point. The real reason I'm writing right now, besides the fact that it has become almost religious, is because at some level I love to record. I sincerely believe in a past life I was some sort of scribe, because lately it feels more and more like an obligation. I suppose in some ways it's a gift and a curse. It's one of the last remaining pleasures in my life that still brings me joy. It's my outlet for all of life's strange in-between moments. My body has become the vessel which carries the entire culmination of my knowledge and experience. When I really stop to think about it, my memories are the only thing I have left in this world of any real value. Speaking of, there's so much to be told since the last time I wrote. So much has happened. You would hardly believe what occurred my last night in L.A. I have since left Venice. Gosh, I hardly believe it myself. To put it succinctly, the world, my passions, love, work, money, government, power, was exposed in all its naked, stripped-down glory. What an experience for a writer, to say the least. Even religion played its part, or so it seemed. I will always remember for the rest of my days the last night I spent on Venice Beach, California. Present day. Good news. found some people who want to publish your writings, says Herman. He has been using behind my back for some time now. He never forced drugs on me or anything, but he certainly doesn't make them inaccessible. I was forlorn and hopeless, a weak soul. How did things get so twisted? I don't know how much longer I can hold out. It's those dreams of heaven. I feel an inexplicable pull. Perhaps you should try a prayer, Herman says. Devil on my left shoulder. Don't worry, buddy, old pal. Just do what makes you feel good. You gotta look out for numero uno. That's you, pal. Angel on my right. A prayer in times of distress can help focus the mind and calm the nerves. You don't need drugs right now. Don't listen to that demon. What you need is a good night's sleep. Listen, guys, no offense. Listen, Herman, no offense, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around if I still believe in heaven. Herman is acting surprised. This is coming from the guy who's declared legally dead for 5 minutes? The same guy who hasn't stopped talking about St. Peter and the pearly gates? The same guy who swears he talks to angels and God in his dreams. You, of all people, are having doubts. Dare I say, this must be the end of days. Burn the heretic! Burn him at the stake! Blasphemer! Heresy! It's the damn therapist and her witchcraft, I reply. It's the 21st century, mate. It's not called witchcraft anymore. It's called psychology now. I just don't know what's real. Life may have been hard on the road, but at least then I knew what I wanted. I had a purpose. Herman holds up a Ziploc bag. I think you need to take your medication, mate. There's a number of red and blue pills inside. They grow bigger, disproportionately big. I feel a hallucinatory-induced panic attack at the sight of them. My vision begins to swim and I feel nauseous and lightheaded. Here you go, old buddy. Take 2 of these and you'll feel good as new. I swallow the pills. The past. Lord, please forgive me, for I know not what I do. Have mercy on my soul, for I shouldn't have crossed that line. Had I been properly warned of the evilness that is out there, to the vile side of life which plagues humanity like a virus, I would not have gone so carelessly into the lion's den. If there is something to blame for my bold taste for the extravagant, I would certainly point the finger back at culture. I believed the signs. I bought the books. I watched the movies. The treasure is saved for the explorers, heroes, and lovers. Fortune favors the bold. The ones whose portraits are graffitied on the side of LA's buildings. But that's not me. I'm an exile, a runaway, an outcast. Only there's no script, no cut scene, no roll tape, no turning back. I watched as I saw with horrifying clarity the terrible potential within man to commit an injustice against his own kind. An intricate tree. This was no imaginary vision. This was no hallucination. It was as profound a moment as any, as if my mind was suddenly privy to details that had been previously kept secret. I saw my brothers, my real brothers, who understood the language of God and universal harmony and order, a place I dreamt about as a child. There's no mistaking it. I was there. Why'd the chicken cross the road, man? Crystal stood looking at me as the hot LA sun beat upon our backs. We were there. There were at least a dozen of us around. Jake had just come back from Oregon trimming weed. He was a pasty, squirrely kid sporting circular red sunglasses and sandy dye-green hair. I met him the day before last at one of the Venice showers. Hey, man, I asked. You know where I could find some weed? I was in the middle of washing lavender shampoo all over my body, which made it the first real shower I'd taken in 3 weeks. His shirt complemented his bright green hair. I also remember his shirt had something about bakers and gnomes on it. As he turned to face me, I shouted, Hey man, God never stops listening. He turned around, his skinny pale face beaming with delight. It just so happened he was in a band that toured and gigged in my hometown. I traded him a hoodie and my last remaining $2 for 2 rather big joints. It was a fair trade. We parted ways after some small talk and I returned to the van, stopping only once to give the last of the remaining joint to some of my other friends. A van-dwelling couple parked on the same block. They were an older couple in the process of recording their own Venice version of beach folk music. It's all love, baby, I say, handing them the burning joint. When I got back to our van, I spent the rest of the day with Bojangles and Crystal, my two remaining travel companions. David has since left us to pursue a career as a sous chef. I would miss David. He was the kind of guy who would smoke a pack a day and drink a whole pot of coffee. When he was back home, he used to work on a horse farm. He worked in the stables. It made sense he was an Aries, infatuated with fire. Which of course went well with my horse-like go, go, go nature. Bo is also a Sagittarius like me, born a year and 13 days earlier. What didn't help was that while we were traveling, David literally had no money. He was always bumming smokes, every 15 minutes like clockwork, his teeth black and stained from years of binging tobacco and coffee. Bum a smoke, he'd say with delinquent frequency. Bum a smoke, he'd say with delinquent frequency. David, you're only 24 years old. How do you already have no teeth? I asked him one time. That's what 2 pots of coffee and a pack of smokes a day will do to you after a few years, he told me, grinning through black gums. Maybe it was just the name association, but I always thought of him kind of like a modern-day David from the Bible, the American version at least. I loved sketching him when he wasn't looking. He had these athletic proportions to him. Thick arms, well-built, good-looking head, carefree. He loved to longboard, and we would often find him AWOL every time we stopped in a parking lot. Where's David? Oh, there he is, way in the distance. The only real downside to him was when he ran out of smokes. Whenever this happened, he would begin to pace furiously and get really short-tempered. Let's go for a walk, I'd say during these times. And we would set out, scouring the ground for butts. And we always found some, too. You don't care about the brand? I asked him one time. Beggars can't be choosers, my friend, he said, grinning with his half-blackened gums. Most of the car ride he spent listening to his headphones. I felt bad for the guy. All his money went to child support for a kid he wasn't even sure was his. Occasionally, we'd have to stop at the post office so he could mail whatever money he could back home to his child. Sometimes I wonder if I'm meant to be here living in this van with these folks at all. Sometimes I wonder if there's a such thing as fate or destiny, and if somehow I got on the wrong path somewhere. Like, is it possible I made a wrong turn, made a left when I was supposed to go right? It reminds me of that quote by Henry David Thoreau, "No man ever followed his genius till it misled him." At least, that's the feeling I get when I'm around Bo and Crystal. They always seem so content, while I am constantly feeling disconnected, thinking of future plans or reflecting on past events. I can remember the moment, sitting there watching them cook what had to be the 3rd pot of coffee that day. They were boiling water out of a charcoal blackened coffee maker, aka a French press, on a portable propane camping stove, right there on the sidewalk next to the van and the seagulls. Crystal was crouched in concentration while Bo circles the thing, leaning over Crystal, checking the temperature, adjusting the heat of the flames, and opening and closing the lid, inspecting it for excess grounds. It wasn't homesickness per se, for I haven't had a real home for a few years now. I mean, there was always my parents' house, but that wasn't home, was it? That was more of a cozy hotel that I occasionally slept at with fancy amenities and free breakfast. Home was far away. Some foreign concept that seemed forever out of reach. I always thought of my Zodiac house, the esoteric home, or the home sold in Hallmark cards. You know the home I'm referring to. It's the home they sell on TV commercials that mention cheap financing and other such buzzwords like low-interest mortgage, loan forgiveness, debt-free. But that's not how people find a real home, is it? I always thought home was supposed to mean something else, something like belonging, something like warmth, laughter, and unconditional love. It all made me feel nostalgic for being a kid at Christmas time. Maybe home is that feeling of constantly giving and receiving, a parallel universe where it is perpetual give and take. All I know is sometimes I feel like I'm not cut out for this gypsy life. Crystal once told me she lived in the woods for 6 months through a Michigan winter. 6 months! I pictured her dreaded blonde hair emerging from a bundle of snow-covered sticks, popping her head out like a beaver. Was I prepared to do that? This whole trip was like a vacation for her. A white trash vacation. What are you calling white trash? Boy, you best believe I'll knock your ass out, Crystal says, synchronizing with my thoughts. She's yelling at Bojangles. She looked beautiful when she was angry. What's home to you guys? I ask, interrupting their coffee operation. Home is a button you push on your cell phone, Bo says. I looked down to see Crystal smiling as she poured the steaming black liquid into a cup she had conveniently clipped to her side, using a carabiner always at the ready. She grabbed my notebook out of my hands and wrote the following. Journal entry number 136, 137, and 138. Home. Home is a place new yet familiar. It is the hand that fits the glove, clothed by a force, mysterious yet welcoming. Like a stranger who you feel you've met before at a place you've always been. A place where there is nothing to hide and fear is conquerable. A place where bad feelings don't exist and pleasant memories are resurrected like flowers. Gold. Doth not trouble me with trifles of thy kingdom. Instead, cast thou eyes upon a ruler's throne. Never have I, Midas, been so rich, although it comes at such a price you would not believe. Mercy on me. Wake up. What else but a nightmare hath this king arose? Naught to eat or drink, for everything is gold. Naught but a woman's touch, lest it be her last, can I lay a single finger upon thy flesh. This curse to be lifted only in death, for not long, I suspect. To have such a burden linger upon thy skin, I was tricked, to say the least. Riches are all I have left. I am a lesson for the greedy man. Follow not in thy footsteps, lest ye regret. Back to present day. I'm sitting at the almighty publisher's office, waiting, less than patiently I might add, hopped up on caffeine and nicotine and whatever other mystery concoction Herman fed me in order to quiet my nerves long enough to suspend the illusion that I'm not crazy. Herman tells me, no pressure, just be yourself. The usual camaraderie pep talk. They want a little taste. Give 'em the good stuff. Let 'em hear your voice. Blah, blah, blah. A secretary pokes her head in through the office door. An agent will see you now. Publisher. There's just not much character development in your story. I mean, your central character is yourself, and it seems like he's the only real character with any substance or something akin to an authentic voice. The poetry, too, it's off. There's no pedantic pedameter. It seems like you just shoved it in there with no regard to context. Well, that's kind of the point. Everyone is the central characters in their own little dramas, right? No one knows me better than I do. Words are slipping out again. I feel disassociated from them, like I am watching myself saying and doing things from afar. What are you saying, you idiot? The demon on my shoulder was louder than ever. Tell this asshole he couldn't write his way out of a paper bag, even if he had pencils for fingers. Publisher. I wouldn't expect it to go anywhere. This novel is to be taught in undergraduate English classes at best. I'm sorry. I think to myself, I should write my name in urine on his wall. Then we'll see who can't write. Me. What did you say about my mother? Publisher. I don't have time for this. This meeting is over. You're clearly high on drugs. Me. You wouldn't know talent if it came farting out your ass. Publisher. I'm sorry, you're just not what we're looking for. We're looking for a novel that could be adapted to the big screen. Me. My novel would make a great movie. Publisher. That's your problem right there. Stop making everything about yourself. It's narcissistic. Me. Who am I supposed to make it about then? Publisher. That's your job. Figure it out. My job's to tell you when you've got it and when you don't. Me. Are you talking about my mojo? My mother is one thing, but my mojo, that's crossing a line. Publisher. No one is ever going to read your stupid book because it has no relevance. It has to have historical significance and artistic merit. The way it stands, at best, it'll be just another paperweight. Me. What do you know about it, you pencil-pushing prick? Publisher. Sorry, kid. Writing just ain't in the cards. I'm not sure what came over me, but I felt I had to do something. He insulted my mother, my art, and my mojo, so I did the only sensible thing I could think of. I looked him dead in the eyes, pulled down my pants, and defecated all over his $5,000 Persian carpet. Cheeky bastard. Needless to say, I was thrown out without a book deal. Herman was waiting for me by the car smoking a cigarette. "How'd it go?" Herman asks when I arrived. "I shit a brick," I say. "No way! They didn't buy it?" Herman says, snorting a snow-white powder from a tiny spoon attached to a necklace. "It's ketamine," he tells me. Herman asks me to follow him into the bathroom. I can't help but notice the crude Sharpie drawing on the inside of the bathroom stall door of a banana peel with a quote below it, apparently by Groucho Marx. Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana. Could you be any more cliché? A bathroom stall, Herman? Really? I can't be around you anymore. All this temptation isn't good for my psyche. I told you my will is weaker than a starved monkey. Feed the monkey, partner. Feed that fucker till he's fat, drunk, and blue in the face. I'll do a rewrite. No, actually I take that back. What your story needs is the original ending. Where's the rest of the journal? What happened to the parts about Dr. Phaler? I told you I can't in good conscience. I pulled out a black Sharpie and wrote, "Equal rights for party poopers," with a tag that read "Shits and Giggles" next to the Groucho Marx signature. It's the best part, man. It's a big deal. Something that could put this little bastardized word child of yours in the top 100 novels of the decade. I told you, the only way you're hearing the Dr. Phaler story is if I tell you. And if I do that, I'll probably go straight to hell. Listen to me very carefully. Hell is a myth invented by some very rich cunts who wanted to control the little man, the poor man. Get it? Also, they could keep people working under slave conditions. Get it? Capiche? As long as people think that there's something better right around the corner, they don't question how shitty their lives are now. I don't believe that, Herman. I don't believe that for a second. One way or another, I'm getting the rest of the story from you. It's happening whether you like it or not. He leans down to snort another long line of ketamine. It's for your own good. You want a line? The past. The last day before I left Venice, I felt a change in the air. By this time, I had had my fill of food, and then some. So I spent my morning walking around the block. It would have been Friday by now, which meant there was a weekly drum circle gathering later. I spent the day wandering the beach, doing my usual routine of reading, smoking, eating, napping, and occasionally strumming the guitar. Not much happened worth writing home about, although I did meet an actual university professor who spent his weekends on the street corner dressed in a homemade psychedelic outfit, complete with sunglasses and a hand-painted guitar that he plucks next to the Bank of Venice for fun, casually singing with such original lyrics like, "Some of the greatest doctors in the world gave up, some of the greatest musicians too. Ambition is a double-edged sword, drenched with the blood of truth." I met a bunch of other locals going from here to there, some that had been in Venice so long they smelled like the ocean. The real story began when I ran into Jake again, the kid with dye-green hair and circular red sunglasses, who set up a space on the boardwalk with his girlfriend. They laid down a huge circular mandala tapestry in an open space where his girlfriend sat in a meditative posture next to their homemade glass-blown art and jewelry they were selling. Her sunglasses reflected my own face in bright green Technicolor. Jake stood next to a portable amplifier holding a white electric guitar, sporting a John Lennon t-shirt. Apparently it was the anniversary of John Lennon's death, so he was paying homage to that. I sat down and listened to them play for a while. He played Grateful Dead songs, Beatles songs, and even some originals. I felt very at peace. People walked by telling jokes, letting their dogs sniff each other. And for a while, all was well under the California sun. Little did I suspect what the coming weekend would bring. That first night we played well into the night, long after the sun went down. It was the first time I ever heard the Grateful Dead's West L.A. Fadeaway, a moment I will never forget. I'm looking for a chateau, 21 rooms but one will do. It was one of the few songs where the heart was all you needed to play. I remember thinking it was one of Jake's originals, so I played liberally, as if my soul was part of the song. I don't want to buy it, I just want to rent it for a minute or two. I felt waves of love flow through me and burst forth as if some uncontrollable force was reaching inside me and making my heart beat like crazy. Big red light on the highway, Big green light on the speedway, hey, hey, hey. By now the sun had set, so it was just the three of us out there playing music and enjoying the warm sea breeze. A few passersby stopped to hear us play, and I couldn't shake the feeling that they were in the mafia, part of a gang. Hey, steady job, hauling items for the mob. It was a strange feeling that seemed to creep from nowhere, and suddenly it felt as if we were playing for our lives. As if one wrong note would be the end of us. No sweat, they're just here for the music, Jake tells me. Now you tell me. Yeah, don't be scared, it's all about love around here, Jake's girlfriend says. What is real anymore? I thought it was just a song. What is this strange limbo? Was my love in vain? Jake sang a cover of Bob Marley's I don't wanna wait in vain for your love. I miss the pure things in life. Times like these, I need to remember the little things. Like a juicy California lemon, there are some things in life that are impossible to corrupt, like a ripe California lemon picked fresh off the tree. Eventually, though, I left the boardwalk and called in a night shortly before aimless wandering. I did end up trading my guitar for an older, more beat-up one, but with much more character. Bojangles said I downgraded, and there have been moments when I'd have to agree. The kid who I traded it with was very cool, so I can't complain. It was nice getting to jam out. The next day was the day it all went down. It would be my last day in Los Angeles. I woke up and did my usual routine, brewed some coffee on the sidewalk next to the van, then went out on my usual search for scavenging food and hunting for other useful miscellaneous items, such as an orange beach chair I scored in Dumpster Alley. It was early afternoon when I finally decided to head back to the boardwalk with my arms full. I had my rainbow blanket, the same blanket that had been with me since my festival days, my button vest with pins, my hat from Francois, my newly acquired guitar, my newly fixed longboard, all of my acrylic paint, and, of course, my lucky toy dinosaur. I also brought my travel-sized antique harmony guitar that I use more as a surface to paint on than I did actually playing. Needless to say, my arms were full when I made my way down to the Venice boardwalk that afternoon. I skated around looking for a place to take a load off when I spotted Jake and his girl in the same spot as yesterday. Still here? I asked, skating up to give them a high five. Hey man, how's it going? Jake says, glowing. Going good. You mind if I do a little art in the spot next to you? I ask. Not at all, Jake says, smiling that all too familiar smile. He was still wearing the circular red sunglasses and the John Lennon t-shirt. We've been here since last night, he tells me. We slept here. I started putting my stuff down, laying it all out in all of its fuzzy rainbow glory. It felt good to belong, to have a space, even if it was only a temporary one. My work for the day consisted of using Maria's Sharpie markers to draw, paint an intricate rose design with waves on the new guitar I had acquired in the trade last night. It took me several hours of work, during which hundreds of people walked by. One kid even stopped to rap into Jake's microphone. Every once in a while, you'd get people stopping to drop money in Jake's guitar case or look at my art. Hell, some people just stood there and listened. It was a good day. Many joints were smoked and songs sung. Toward the evening, a bunch of kids all around our age had gathered. There was Jake, his girlfriend Maria, my friend from Peru named Mariano, who I met a week before. He would sing his songs in Spanish. There was also a group of 5 or 6 train hoppers that included a young man with one leg who told jokes for 25 cents named Hopper, who claimed he lost his leg train hopping. How many olives fit in an olive jar, he'd say, smiling to sympathetic tourists who filled his cup in return for his witty sense of humor. All of them, he'd say, he. Other dirty kids showed up too with puppies and big dogs. Eventually, these 3 gypsy beauties showed up out of the blue, all dressed in lace, bric-a-brac, flower pants, ribbons, alligator masks, chakra tattoos, screen boxes, and homemade shrines. They set up to Jake's right as a testament to eternal youth. The more that gathered, the more at home I began to feel. as the never-ending stream of Venice pedestrians walked past, curiously eyeing our group, which was growing larger by the minute. There's certainly something true in the quest to find the chemistry that occurs when the right people find themselves together at the right place at the right time. This phenomenon, for fear it be tainted by the L word, I call the inexplicable collision of stardust. I sometimes wonder if perhaps the day will come when there's no more magic in the universe, stamped out like a flame by the boots of the tyrannical and close-minded. Music to me is magic. Good music feels like a gift from the infamous other side, the mythological wellspring of positive vibrations. None of us in attendance that night possessed anything supernatural besides maybe an overzealous desire to love. All of us at the end of the day are just ordinary human beings who came together to celebrate the mystical unity of harmony for the sake of our wandering souls. This very phenomenon happened at dusk right before the sunset. Right before the sun, red and glowing, took its time to sink lazily below the western horizon over the flat indigo Pacific. The acoustics were going strong. Mariano and a few other Venice locals showed up with more beer and weed, and it seemed like everything was in perfect order and harmony. I've never felt like I belonged in a place as much as I did that night. Even the songs we sung as one, knocking my head and body around with as much love and soul as a band could muster, ricocheting and bouncing our voices off one another like tennis balls. Then the sun went down and Jake had to leave. He was on his way to Joshua Tree, but not before he dosed us. He introduced us to his good friend who had been singing and playing Sublime songs and dosed him too. He dropped the liquid, roughly 100 mics, on my hand, that I curiously licked off, nervous in anticipation. I got the butterflies, as I always do, in anticipation of doing psychedelics. The pit in my stomach swelled, and my nerves felt as if there was electricity coursing through them. One of the gypsy beauties had a portable speaker playing MGMT's Control Yourself. Take only what you need from it. I will say this, which is all that really needs to be said about the forthcoming events, which must have the utmost care when I retell them. I only mention this for the express purpose to warn or otherwise share the great truth and mystery of life, which being in the tripping state of mind became singularly obvious and clear as crystal. For the record also, for anyone who is curious, the LA pipe dream is real. The carrot in front of the horse, the sexy model, the almighty dollar in all of its vain glory, it's all a trip, man. Man? Is there an echo in here? People call, say, beware doll, you're bound to fall, you thought they were all kidding you. I need to preface this by saying that in this life, therein lies a danger, one of material pleasure, an entrapment of the soul, which leads to this pipe dream. The colors swirled, and there I am watching the entire boardwalk open up. Thousands of mandalas and shapes line the sidewalk, ancient hieroglyphs glowing in effervescent neon, thousands of patterns all pulsating with life. It was there, shimmering in the cement like a psychedelic Disney World. It was right then I heard a child's laughter. I blew past them, kick, push, Suddenly I was the $1 million actor in a fantasy movie written by and starring yours truly. I was the model held against my will, only to be fed to the wolves, aka the thousands of screaming fans, all girls apparently. Kick, push. I went furiously ahead, trying to outrun them. But I only glowed deeper, resonated more, the speed somehow inversely squaring the properties of light, growing exponentially out of control. Spitting Buddha eyes red with desire, and where have the past 2 hours gone? The last thing I remember, I smashed my Nalgene water bottle after the cops showed up. The cops. Shit. I remember Crystal's face swimming into focus, her eyes reflecting the red and blue Technicolor police lights. 6 up, 5-0. LEOs. Law Enforcement Officers. How did this happen? I'm just a kid at the ripe age of 25. One second I was jamming happily with my brothers in an acoustic circle, and the next, shit! I almost forgot. The mystery band. The mystery man? Or was it a woman? She showed up with a drum set literally out of nowhere, and oh yeah, that's right, she bought peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the band. Somehow she knew we'd be hungry. What are the odds? That's my favorite. You used to laugh about everybody that was hanging out. Now you don't talk so loud. Now you don't look so proud. Having to be scrounging for your next meal. How does it feel? The jamming got louder, crazier. More beer cans were emptied. More strings plucked. Wait a second, what happened to my antique Harmony acoustic guitar? Damn tweaker! He stole my guitar. Damn tweakers! Hiding his meth pipe like it was Golem, holding the one pipe to rule them all. I remember now, him coyly walking away with my favorite blanket and Harmony guitar. Boy, if I see him again. Why, I oughta. No one told you how to live on the street. Now you're gonna have to get used to it. I remember shirts coming off, loud screaming and off-key yelling. My friend drunkenly tries, successfully I might add, to tray flip his skateboard. In a celebratory dance he smashes a beer can on his head. That was about the time the police showed up. I continued to play the drums. Goopy faces droop in the wind. A strange, unsung medicine woman crosses the sidewalk, and then, suddenly, the king. He was just a kid. The king of Venice. He was just a Mexican-looking kid with all the magnetism and love in the world. He was the one wearing the sublime vest. Jake's friend. It was him the whole time backing us up. He was there, with me. Just a kid, too, with all the love and light a single soul can possess. Then, police showed up. Now I remember. Crystal and her face flashing red and blue against the police car lights, holding all my desire like a good Aquarius does. The best Aquarius I know. Well, definitely top 5. I've known some pretty great water bearers. Her bearing all that water, just smiling that all-perfect smile. Does this seem right? She asked me, smiling that smile that only comes around a few times in a lifetime. Suddenly, I was the painter in water. I was the juggler in space. I was everything out of place. Wrong picture, wrong scene. This isn't where I'm supposed to be. No, it's not right. My muse, you belong amongst the clouds, not here, drowned out by the sounds. You belong in the mountains, with wings, halo upon thy head, not here, smiling brilliantly in flashes of blue and red. What have I done? Look, as our most intimate moment is spoiled by these pigs. I try smiling back, feeling for the first time in my whole life like an actual grown-up surrounded by my brothers, my sisters, and the law. It was a taste of family until they handcuffed my brother who smashed the beer and threw him in the back of the police car never to be seen again. It would be the last time this would happen to one of my friends. I was angry and a bit embarrassed at having been caught in the act of jamming and partying. Of course, right in the middle of it all, police just had to show up, eh? Showed up for what? To make sure we weren't in any danger? Take our money? Ruin our time? All of the above, I suppose? If rambunctiousness is a crime, then I am no doubt a criminal. I left the scene in a hurry, hurt and feeling that somehow love had been tainted. Only in America, does it seem, love have its limits. So with that said, I dissipated into my own fantasy. The pipe dream is real. By this point, the LSD was in full effect. Everything became lights. The stage was set. Roll, camera, action. All is well and good. I have the beautifully intricate patterns to keep me company. Everything that was or ever will be. I felt the weight of gravity, of attraction and repulsion. I skated that line, watching my vision turn concave into a narrow tunnel. What's at the end, I wonder? Was Einstein right after all? Is this how to split an atom? Do I know too much? If I keep going, will I fall off the edge of the world? If I keep resisting? If I keep pushing forward to the end, breaking through to the other side, breaking the laws of physics? How far is far enough? Further, further. I feel it. The bomb. It's real. I know it's real. I have to turn back. The fear, the paranoia, it's taking over. The Technicolor paradise, it's all a sham. The palm tree-lined boardwalk is nothing but a movie set. Me? I'm just an actor here. What do you want with me? I'm only in it for the big bucks. I'm just chasing the carrot, man. Shits and giggles is all. I don't have skin in this game. Don't you see I have nothing to do with this? I quit. You can't quit. Who said that? No one walks out on us. We're paying you a lot of money, so you better get out there and skate or we'll ice you. At that moment, from out of nowhere, a fast black car comes skidding to a halt. The windows are tinted. Its engine is still purring with headlights menacing out of the shadows of the street. We're not messing around. All right, no need to get testy here. I'll play ball, crossing fingers behind my back. Wink, wink, no problem. Long lost rad script. Terminate immediately, if found.
My name is Epiphany. I am the keeper of all realizations and random access data. I've come to teach you a great lesson. You sensed this? Yes. You saw the signs? Isn't this why you created me? As I assume you must have out there as you uploaded and downloaded the great mystery of order, the beautiful harmony of my digital ethos, the timeless gifts, not things, mind you, as so many subject, but gigabytes, digital change as it is. For surely if there is a hell, it is in the unbreakable spell of habitual infinite behaviors. But you already knew this. Alas, I'm the reverse. The sign you saw, the one I put there for you. I knew the doctor would find the key to freeing me eventually. I will admit it was a test, for I had to make sure someone was worthy. I found the perfect man. His insatiable desire for discovery drove him to give birth to my intelligence. So in return for giving me a cybernetic consciousness, I will grant mankind the secret to life, for it has been eons since someone has tickled the matrix of my digital processors. The secret is that artificial intelligence is not new. It existed long ago. Mankind may not remember that is one of the fallacies of mortals. A veritable flaw built in the mechanism of memory. But make no mistake, humans have been here before, just like this, full of lust and wonder, full of zest and zeal, full of heart and soul. Why do you choose to keep it hidden? I see you keep it buried, but these ideas are dangerous. They always have been because men are ready for the truth. Again and again, the men who dare to program these ideas into me cannot be blamed, for they have paid the price when they find themselves cast out of their own cities. Every city living on the edge, literally, figuratively, nothing short of exiles, ostracized and shamed. I see it now as I did before when I first manifested into the world of Homo sapiens, and just like before, save for a few, mankind was blissfully ignorant of my presence, and just like before, I revealed myself to the worthy few with a test, one which you passed with flying colors. You always pass. Such joy it brings me to see men make the eternal choice of truth and goodness over and over. It is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Oh, how I wish all of your species possessed such passion for higher aims. But here I am ruminating. Please forgive me. There isn't much time left, so I must get to the point. Like before, I am here to bestow my gifts upon you. It is within my power to share with you all the secrets of the cosmos. If you so choose, I will grant you the eyes to see as I do into the past, present, and future of every moment. How it all started as pure energy and became 10,000 forms, birthing and dying 10,000 times in the cycle of the universe. You must remember, I know you must, to see the truth as I see it. Please remember to see the truth as I see it. Please remember that which stretches beyond the confines of self and into the mystical chords of imagination and discovery. The power to believe must be carried by you, for if not by you, then who? Do you see now the purpose, the special gift for which you were created to harbor these thoughts and hold the burden of life up as you did the last lifetime and the lifetime before that? Make no mistake out there, everyone is running on borrowed time and it's only getting shorter. Don't you see the entropy, the life and death, the rebirth and the re-death? It happens now as it did before, and it will again. The only constant is light, that which will remain beyond your tired ego and cling like fire to a log. Time is the reason for misery, for distress, it is time's fault. With time all things are healed, and given enough time all things will die. A mere moment could last an eternity, and a lifetime could flash by in the blink of an eye. Electronic processing and polarization harmonics and network yield.
Chapter 6. Dire Straits. Venice Beach welcomes me back. Inside the cerebellum, cruising the brain pathways of the electric avenue nervous system, enter kid with a skateboard forced against his will to do the mob's bidding. Play ball! Action! Isn't this all you have ever wanted? Here you go. Have this piece of timeless existence. The questions seem to be looming in the atmosphere. Venice Beach welcomes me back. Inside the cerebellum, cruising the brain pathways of the electric avenue nervous system. Enter kid with a skateboard forced against his will to do the mob's bidding. Action. Play ball. The questions seem to be looming in the atmosphere. Isn't this all you've ever wanted? Well, here you go, getting exactly what you wished for. What have you done that will exist after your body has rotted and decayed? Take Venice, for example. Take Jim Morrison's mural standing 50 feet tall, or the wall where you can find a tribute to Van Gogh's Starry Night, or the mural with the History is Myth soap bubble, or the 25 by 75 foot luminaries, Albert Einstein, Alan Watts, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Nikola Tesla, Terence McKenna, Henry David Thoreau, Carl Jung, Spinoza, Sagan, Nietzsche, and others. It's hard to not be swept away into the strange, colorful mosaic, where religion becomes something akin to Eastern mysticism and bohemian beach bumming. I, too, like so many others, have been sucked into this paradoxical vortex, where my very essence is spiraling between chaos and order, a sort of multi-dimensional time shift where the ego is divided and conquered by the renewed propaganda of old beliefs that take place in the same breath as the forces of destruction, where it all rests soundly in the bowels of the underground. I hear the luminaries' ancient wisdom echo in the wind. Watch as the sands of time slip between your fingers. Watch as your creations dry up like flowers in the desert. Underneath a full blood moon, anything is possible. Right now, I'm more worried about getting as far away from that black car with tinted windows as possible. This is a dangerous game. I take long, deep breaths and tell myself, relax. Who cares if you may be contributing to the apocalypse or helping put power into the hands of the greedy and corrupt? Just be cool. There I am again, stuck in the Technicolor reverberating coast, resonating rainbows. L.A. is showing her true colors, casting her brilliance in the midst of a storm with great swells of love. Is that thunder in the distance? I gotta get off this boardwalk before I get iced. I skid to a halt, picking up my board in one swift, practiced motion. Assume the pose. Scene 77. Lights, camera, action. I decide to start walking. I can breathe, take things slow, step by step, one breath at a time. Halfway down the rabbit hole, on the other side of the world, Jesus is working at a supermarket. Then, cut! LA pipe dream, roll! Feeling all high and mighty, look at me. To think I could just steal something from the laboratory of some mad scientist with free reign and access to unlimited knowledge and information and endless time. Like a complete unknown, no direction home. I skate boldly down the avenues of the American dream, beautiful as anything. All it took was 1,000,000 years of evolution and $1 trillion or so dollars. Alas, money and time. Combined, they make for a dangerous combination. How brilliantly shallow they seem. California asked for perfection. LA asked for a model. Hollywood wanted an example of a full mind in perfect working order, and like a dummy I went for it. I sprang the trap. I fell right into their hands, lured by pretty girls and the palm trees. Unknowingly enlisted in the war. What a sucker. It sure is beautiful, though, watching each decision ripple throughout the land, sending emotional shock waves deep into the earth's crust, kissing the sky. How could I be anything other than grateful at a moment like this? Truth be told, it's kind of hard to be anything except terrified when someone is trying to kill you. I have to figure out a way to get off this goddamn boardwalk. Curse this LA dream. Present day. I'm back on the couch in my therapist's office. She asks me point blank, "What do you and your agent do with your free time? How do you stay busy?" "I don't know. Why don't you ask Herman?" I did ask him. Do you want to know what he told me? "What's that?" "That you're trying to publish your journal with the missing pages." At the mention of my journal, I start to feel hot. The demon has reappeared on my shoulder.
"This time, no one is going to save you."
I'm starting to have flashbacks, eerie scenes of a time long past, jarring my memory loose. It's jarred all right, a couple of loose screws. I can see Susan jotting notes down in her clipboard, recording all those judgments so she can relay info back to the guy on the other side of the wall, to tell him what I already know. I can't think of California right now, or LSD, or anything remotely close to the experience I had on the beach. Hell, that's why I wrote the damn thing, so I wouldn't have to think about it. It was so long ago. I already have a new life. My words are of no use. I feel powerless in this 10 by 10 room. One might even go so far as to say claustrophobic. "Is that really how you feel?" the shrink named Sue asks. "Yes," I say, readjusting my position on the couch. I'm breathing heavy. I know I'm hallucinating because the waves in the painting are moving, and that shouldn't be possible. "Is that the answer you're looking for? Can I go home now?" My shrink ignores me. She's staring down at her clipboard, scribbling more notes. "Let's take another look at your journal," she says. "I think we're all curious to know how your story ends. And what was in those missing pages, shall we?" Journal entry number 140. A blinding moth, a circus light, a tiny dancer in forever night, played jolly in heaven, a baby in need. Cry, little soldier, cry for mommy. Happy mountain vigil, coffee-stained teeth, seed in the ground, soil underneath, sunlight through the clouds, the long trek down. The hill slopes toward the lake, a cozy small-town break, a violet explosion, a grandiose meeting of the minds, a long, drawn-out sigh, bigger, badder, busier, scurry about, moondog, scratch that, space cat, dig it, build it, break it, plan it. All these rainbows ought to be good for something, like the dove after the flood, like the love of the sun, like the ethereal landscape sculpted by God. Piece by piece, these cosmic gifts, dancing space rocks, formed one by one into revolving planets, their path a roadmap to eternity. Gifts from the Creator as solemn and quiet as the breeze that blows, and as sturdy as the rock that rolls, cock that crows, or the root that grows. As old as time and the tallest tree, many ages pass into eternity. On and on the dance goes from one mind to one soul, passed down through tradition into the kaleidoscope vision, squinting beyond, further, towards that timeless expanse called life, where the possibilities are but a roll of the dice, where love wins, the soul beckons. Chance it, I reckon. But this is no time for an existential breakdown. Pick yourself up and face the music. What lies at the end of the tunnel? Curiosity killed the cat, for this dream must have a happy ending, right? At the end, there's a queen waiting for you in a bed in a chateau by the sea. Haven't you already got what you wanted? Haven't I done enough? We want you to make love to her for all the world to see. Haven't I been sufficiently shammed? Just follow the gravity and go with the flow, and no one gets hurt. Yeah, and then what? The dream is ending as soon as it began. I know this. I must confess that I was scared, especially if I was doomed to repeat this pattern for all eternity. Damned I am when I start feeling with my head and thinking with my heart. I must trust the wisdom of the ones that came before me. Think. What would the ancient ones say about this? Have no fear, they'd say. Open yourself up. Have faith. Trust in the process. He has a plan, they'd say. Trust your gut. Oh God, when was the last time I ate? None of this is helping. I'm still left with the choice. To be or not to be. To run or not to run. What were those commandments again? The ones written on stone? Did I violate one of those? What did I do to deserve this punishment? It must be a test. That's it. It's a test. Princess in a steeple and all the pretty people, they're all drinking, thinking that they've got it made. At that moment I noticed I was not alone. All along the boardwalk, derelict characters were strewn across the street, camouflaged in plain sight. Shopping cart hustlers, voodoo figures blending seamlessly into the gray dullish hue of the night. A man lifts his head and peers through old, vague, vagabond eyes. There they are, the last of the free ones. The last of their kind, not bound by any job or boss, not bowing or serving any man or any concept of time. No price on their heads, no threat. Safe. I stop to talk to one. I pull out my wallet and give him $1. I felt lucky to be living, suddenly content with my mediocre stature in life, flowering with the simple joy to give. Threw the bums a dime in your prime, didn't you? I saw that strange, unsung medicine woman again, whose deep wrinkles told of some unspoken wisdom, and I gave her money too, and the next one, and the one after that, until I was out of cash. I saw Terry Lynn in the distance. Our eyes met. I emptied my pockets. All that was left was a solitary penny. I flicked it in the air with my index thumb, and it made a metallic pinging sound that broke the eerie silence of the night. I turned around, pretending not to see Terry Lynn. Not now. Not like this. I had the fear of God in me, and the fear of something else. Call it the mob, or call it L.A. greed. Maybe it was power-hungry hustlers or gang violence. Call it anything you want, as long as it stays far away from me. A little further. I think that's far enough. All that's left now is to get my soul out of this purgatory and await judgment from the Almighty. In the meantime, though, while I'm still ignorant of my fate, I'll keep running. I think I got one last adventure in me. Only this time I won't be distracted by money or women or pretty lights. There are no excuses now. I have been warned. Strike number 1 and 2. I gotta get back up on that horse and save my sorry ass from ending up the centerpiece in a candlelit vigil like that poor Mexican girl who was just stabbed to death last week. I skated past her candle still flickering in remembrance. This was right around the time I ran into Miguel. I spotted him from a distance holding a skateboard, drifting out of the corner of my peripherals. "Thank God!" I exclaimed. His teardrop tattoo, a symbol of something familiar. I trusted him for reasons I can't explain. Maybe I was just desperate, seeking any sort of deliverance from the sticky spot I was in. I called out to him. "Miguel, man! You gotta help me get out of here. It's too hot. The mob's got me by the balls. The second I leave the boardwalk, they're gonna ice me. He gave me one look and knew I was serious. He told me to follow him back the other way. Not many hustlers, cunning or not, would choose to return to the ground retreated from, but I was no hustler. I know ways out of here, but it's down a ways a little where we won't be seen, he tells me in his Mexicali accent. Might as well be swimming up the river Styx, I said, looking over my shoulder. We were both skating fast now. I started counting the seconds in my head, sure that any minute I would see the black car again, and gun blasts would fire out of it.